Hey friends, this is Chris.
Engaging.
Welcome back to the channel. So we've got to talk about Musk and Vivek. Yes, they are doing the Doge stuff, and that's basically going to be cutting your job from the government. And there's a lot to talk about with this. Unfortunately, it seems to be going very, very fast.
Mm.
They recently put out an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, basically announcing to everyone you're going to lose your job.
How many people?
There's no estimate yet, but the thing is with Musk, like say with the Twitter situation or with Tesla,
Mm.
he likes to fire people. And even Trump complimented Musk and saying, "Oh, you're so good at firing people, fantastic." And it was like the stuff that they were saying was so egregious that the auto union head
Mhm.
actually sued them for basically intimidating worker because essentially the ability to strike is a right,
Yeah.
essentially, like, hey, I have a right to strike if I don't want to work, right? But the idea though is that if a boss sort of threatens you, right, that's anti, we
Yeah.
could call it union busting is what they say. This is a quote from Vivek, or Ramaswamy is his name. He says there's a new sheriff in town. That's referring to Donald Trump. So sheriff is like police officer, right, head of the Wild West, I guess we're saying. And he says here, Donald Trump's the president. He has mandated for us for radical, drastic reform of this federal bureaucracy with the learnings of that of the first term. And essentially, and Republicans have pushed for this kind of stuff before, not in this way, and because like they always want to cut things, right? But this idea that we're bringing in these two
Mm.
people, Musk gave a whole bunch of money, and they're like really want to cut a lot, so like a third kind of cutting. Vivek also says, and look, Elon is a solving major problems in physics, right? That's what Vivek says, solving problems in physics for Elon. I came from the world of biology. What we're solving here is not a natural problem. This is a man-made problem. And when you have a man-made problem, you better darn well have a man-made solution. That's what we're bringing to the table. So the argument for qualifications is that Elon, I guess, is theoretically good at physics, and Vivek is theoretically good at biology. So what does that have to do with government? Right? That's the problem, is like these people are inexperienced, right? And they're even literally claiming here that that's not their specialty, is governance,
Yeah.
to govern, right? To run the government. So it's a bit weird. They also think that they said too, which is a kind of bit weird as well, is they're arguing that because they're not politicians, they're going to do better. But that's the main complaint that they have with the government, is that the people who sort of make the rules and regulations are also not politicians. I want to define politician the way they're talking about it is basically someone you vote for.
Yeah.
Like you choose, you elect someone, right? So
They're not the one who.
no, we didn't choose Musk and Vivek, right? Like people, the Americans
Yeah.
chose Trump, right? And so it's kind of funny that they're complaining that there's too many people who weren't elected or unelected, as we say, are running the show, but yet they come in being unelected. According to them, they say here, we are entrepreneurs, not politicians. We will serve as outside volunteers. So I guess they're claiming they're not getting paid, but Musk is getting paid in other ways because you remove regulations, you will get paid in that way. Not officials or employees. Unlike government commissions or advisory committees, we just want to write reports or cut ribbons. We'll cut costs. Okay. So here's the big deal, and this is where we have to talk about it. We're talking about expanding the executive branch, or basically the president's power. Okay. Normally, Congress does this kind of stuff. Like they make the laws, the
Yeah.
president, executes the laws, say, or well, basically signs it, and then the judicial branch, right, the judges, the courts, will decide whether or not it's constitutional or not. The basis for this whole thing, for basically expanding Trump's power, or you could say president's power, right?
Mhm.
Because the kind of how our system works is whatever someone does today, it affects what
Yeah.
happens,
Later.
later. Yeah, because this has been done before. This is how we do things. It's all going to be done by we call it executive order. So it's not going to go through Congress. It's like, hey, I'm just going to do an order, and you're going to do it.
Everything, he can order, not everything, but he likes to just order everything right now.
Yeah. So this has been a change in the how the president's operating in the USA, where you do executive orders. If because Congress can be too slow and stuff like that. The reason why you would say order is like a national emergency. I guess. Well,
And when the
what's that?
Christmas happen, like you can.
Yeah, but even then, Congress will or like a war, for example.
Or
Congress would tend to allocate funds.
something really, really like emergency, like usually bad thing happens.
Yeah, but well, this is a tricky thing because in U.S. history, and this is where the branches will get out of balance.
Mm.
Sometimes people say, "Well, no, the president shouldn't be doing said things. It's outside their power." It happens in many countries around the world. But the problem we're having right now, though, is honestly like Trump, if he's has the court in his favor, because the big court ruling for him was that he can't be, we say, prosecuted or accused of doing anything bad if he's the president, and he calls it official business, right? And then this is another expansion of power, is to be able to just cut the government wherever they want and hire these outsiders to give all the advisory thing. Well, it's all in the public, so it's not really secret.
I
What's
mean,
that?
they hire their like private some
Oh, well, that
agency.
right. So that's yeah. So what Yeeji's referring to is normally when people work for the government or any high job. It's not just government. Any high job, uh, they usually want to do an FBI background check on these people. So the Trump, yeah, the Trump people are saying we're just going to use private investigators, right? Um, and then it relates to the Gates situation, the Matt Gates thing. There was a recent report I actually just read. It was in the New York Times. Actually, they had diagrams. It was a new thing. Of like we kind of know where the texts come from. So what it is, the reason why this matters is it looks like Gates paid it was like $10,000 to have sex with women, and they would do it at these parties, and they have like this long history of like the Venmo payments, the PayPal. You pay them, I guess you pay on PayPal if you do that kind of thing. I have no idea, and they were doing all kinds of illicit stuff is the right word. I mention that is because again these kind of things are just not normal. When people vote for Trump, what's that?
Their words, maybe that's normal.
Right. Well, that's why they should stay out of government positions. Like if they want to do that in their own world, go do that. But when you come into the government positions, usually you do background checks, all these kind of things. So for the people who like Trump, they want someone who's not normal, right? Like they want a different system. They
It was like kind of
what's that?
star, unique star, TV star,
Well, the word we say is cold,
old.
right? Like cult leader, that kind of thing. So in the Musk situation, guys, what's happening then is that they're going to go in and try to cut as much as they can. They have all these like weird things that they're saying. So one is again that they're expanding the power of the president to do this because normally you would say go through Congress, this kind of stuff, right? It says here we're going to work with legal experts embedded in government agencies, and we're going to use advanced technology. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is the basic idea, and this relates to other things that Musk says and all the stock promoters, is they want to cut all these people from the government, cut all the rules, and basically have it run by robots and AI. And it's kind of strange because we were talking about this a lot.
So that
What's that?
when I hear that, I feel like they want to control everything because they're the one who's looking at all the data.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because they would program the AI or whatever like that, and basically just this thing about if you want to file a form with the government, right? Well, let's say your taxes, for example. Now, theoretically, you could just have a robot look at everyone's taxes. I say theoretically. Is that
Yes, some parts are gonna be more uh 효율적인 or
appropriate or
yeah. Or
no,
faster,
okay,
they
okay,
don't miss
faster?
anything, yeah, faster.
Well,
Some parts, but it's not gonna be every part.
well, this is the issue, guys. Is do you well? Okay, let's pretend, for example, that the AI and Musk's plan of Vivek's plan to cut all these people and put robots in charge of the government. Is that what we want? Because like we were talking about, it's funny. We thought about the same movie. We recently saw the new Aliens movie, and the first scene of the movie, the person has like some sort of work contract. Yeah, and then when you work so many days, you get your vacation or whatever, or you get your bonus. Okay, she goes on the last day, and then she doesn't get the bonus, and then it's just like this number, and you just feel like, okay, well, who made this decision? And I think that kind of world where you don't know who's making the decision and it's just a robot. Now, to be honest, we already feel like this way with government as it is. Sometimes you apply for something in the government and you're like,
They
get
were
an
not
answer and you're like, who made the decision or whatever. But I think it would actually get worse the way people feel about government if
yeah.
it is a robot. The other issue as well especially with government stuff. So I want to talk about the say embassies around the world because one of the things that would be on the cutting block would be services to citizens around the world, like international relations kind of things. Okay, this is just Trump cut this stuff before, they would definitely look at cutting it again. But for example,
So,
was
yeah,
that?
for example, when I get the visa
Yeah,
in USA, they had a like yeah, they had a department
was that embassy?
yeah embassies
Mm.
or division in Korea, but they cancel.
Yeah, we're talking about the consulate. So what it was is Trump he closed many consulate offices,
Yeah, yeah.
embassies around the world.
Okay,
So
so normally takes in Korea to get a visa is like 3 to 5 months.
right.
It took a year and a half.
Yeah. So when they talk about cutting, Elon Musk acts like it's going to be more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, more efficient. Then that's the question. Like, would robots be faster than humans? And would cutting money from this, allow that? I mean, you already guys know my feeling on this. I think no. I think it's the opposite. For many agencies in the USA, you would actually want to add humans because they're slow
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Like immigration is a good example. They're just slow.
You know,
What's that?
I'm not applying for free. I paid over thousand. Over
Right. Yeah,
thousand.
yeah, 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 yeah. You pay money, and you guys know this, right? When
It's
you
Jack.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Pay
yeah.
over thousand.
Even if you
Should be new
yeah,
pass.
even if you pay for the fee,
Yeah.
and you guys know it'd be the same if you applied for those of you who've never had to deal with the citizen services over abroad. Just imagine if you paid for a driver's license to take the test, you may pay and not pass, and not guaranteed. Um, so the thing I was going to mention with the council thing is if you ever go to these places outside the country, you'll find that people have all kinds of crazy situations, like all kinds of stuff. So like
If you go travel, simply
all kinds of crazy stuff, right?
go to travel. You lost your passport.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You might need a new passport, right? Um, or for example, someone will have a kid abroad, and you actually have to bring the kid into the embassy and say, "Hey, this is my kid. I need to get paperwork so that we can fly home." Sometimes, for example, you may have a family member that died, so some sort of emergency, any number of things like that, to where like, "Hey, I need to get home. I need to get out of the country. My passport's expired," or any. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just giving you examples of why you may need to go there, but this is where a robot doesn't really fit into that kind of stuff. When you cut out the human element, I think a lot of people, they already complain that the government is we say faceless. They already complain about that. So I think it would get even worse if you cut people and go with AI stuff. But that's the question, right? Do people? Well, one is, do people want the AI to run government? Two, would it be better or worse, right? And three, like, is it even possible to do these kind of things, right? So what's that?
What if it's possible? What if they have hackers hack their system?
Yeah, and for government information, that would be really, really
So
sensitive.
you
Right?
it's not the government one. Kakao, our messenger program,
Oh yeah, right, right,
they
right, right, right.
have a bank actually.
So Kakao is kind of like WhatsApp.
WhatsApp with
Yeah,
bank.
with a bank. Yep.
Venmo with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Basically, same idea. Yep.
so their one server
Hmm.
was burned like
Right.
fire last year, so it's completely free. It's a couple of hours. So some people have to send the money for some reason and any reason, and people these days we pay with Kakao Pay,
Yep.
so
Yep.
they couldn't pay, so it was a kind of panic for a couple of hours.
Well, that's more
Even
of a what's that?
it's not even government
Right.
service, just one messenger service.
Well, I would argue that would be a problem with too much centralization. Like you have like you're all digital and it's all kind of in one place. You want multiple servers. Um, would an AI be able to like fix that kind of problem and just have like different AI branches everywhere? I'm not sure.
And
What's that?
there's always a hacker there who can break the.
Well, that I think that's a real concern.
And
What's that?
I know that there's a white hacker, who's blocked out the bad hacker.
Oh, yeah, the government is hiring good hackers.
Yeah, and
What's that?
my one of friend's husband is a white hacker.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. We
So
say cybersecurity.
yeah,
Yeah.
so and each country
Mhm.
they send the top cybersecurity person, and they hack each other's,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah.
they delete their bookmark.
Yeah, I know. We say footprint. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, actually, they meet in. I want to say it's Las Vegas. With their having like a
Yeah, it's my friend's husband as well.
yeah, yeah. There's some sort of meeting there where all the hackers
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about hacker stuff, whatever. But no, it's a real concern. The more AI and automation introduced into the government, the more hackable we are.
Mhm.
I was thinking about this too, just kind of an interesting one. Let's talk about electric voting. It relates to the government stuff. So for many of the Musk camp, the Musk people, they're all concerned about conspiracy theories that the votes are easily hacked. We shouldn't go electric voting.
Then why you
I know that's exactly what I was saying. So then why are you pushing for
AI?
electric AI? Yeah.
And what's gonna happen to
Yeah.
I read that he's gonna help who's losing job there, but even government is it's not a
No, where'd you read? No, he's not going to help me. It said
really
you read something Korea.
an article says he's gonna help to look for other
Oh, I didn't. It wasn't reported for us. I don't know if
I
Koreans are
maybe
making stuff up.
maybe.
I don't know. It might be true. It might be true. I don't know. Well, okay. Here's one thing that could happen, and which was reported in one of Musk's friends, was that if you lose your job in the government, there'll be more opportunity in the private sector, like the private company. So basically, this is what you could do. So I'll give you an example. The VA. They're talking about cutting. If you don't know, that's the military, the veterans, hospitals, that kind of stuff. They're talking about cutting a lot of the veteran stuff. But what ends up happening is that you cut veteran stuff, but then you just shift the money over to private companies, right? So some of the benefits may not, like, they don't necessarily disappear entirely. Just the money gets shifted to their friends, right? It's a
Yeah.
different way of thinking about it. Um, whether or not they cut things entirely, that's a who knows, because there's so many things that are, we say, chopping block. Because, for example, one of the other issues that or things that they could cut would be NASA. That's one of the, because you don't. I mean, okay, guys, I like space science. I'm not against it at all. I think exploring space is great. I think doing science is cool. But do we need to spend a bunch of money on sending humans into space? The government money, is that, does that help the regular person, right? And you could argue maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I'll just say this. So Musk has done a bunch of launches with his rockets, and he's just blowing up taxpayer, like literally blowing up taxpayer money. It's like goes up, and there goes your money.
It's a cool thing, but you saw their one rocket battery. I don't know that they couldn't hold that, so they put the in middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
That means
So they call that the chopstick catch. Like,
yeah,
like the,
So they failed that, so they have to put in the ocean,
Yeah.
middle of ocean.
Yeah.
So think about that.
So our taxpayer money just went down the ocean.
Ruining,
Yeah. I know.
a lot of pollution.
It's awful. So these people who say they want to cut stuff, yet I have a feeling that Musk will want, obviously, the more money to go to him. The other argument they make is that this is the phrase: mass headcount reductions. Mass meaning a lot. Headcount is like how many people you have in your company. So Musk fired, actually not hired, fired like 80% of the people at Twitter. Would they end up doing that to government employees? Now, they're saying that the amount of regulations, rules that they cut will be kind of the same ratio as the amount of people that they cut.
Yeah.
Right? So if they cut a bunch of rules, they cut a bunch of people. I don't ever mean to say that, like, there's no waste in government spending. I'm sure you can find some things, but the way that they're talking is like because they even asked Vivek, which is Musk's partner, like, hey, are you going to cut whole agencies? Are you going to cut whole departments? That's certainly a possibility. That's the way that they're talking. So education is another one that they're talking about cutting a whole bunch too. Basically, it's going to be services to poor people. It's essentially what it ends up being. From the Musk and the Viveks and the Trump's point of view, they feel like, why should we give money to poor people? We should give money to rich people because rich people are more productive. That's their point of view. Rich people are smarter with money. That's sort of their point of view.
That's why.
That's their point of view.
Yeah, but I told you that country and this one companies they should rule differently. Company, I told you, company they just do whatever they benefit them.
Well, yeah, but okay, even in that point of view of the company. So I don't know the situation in, say, Korea, but in USA, people complain that the CEO makes way too much compared to the average work. Do people talk about that here? It's just
Yeah.
like
They apply for the bankruptcy still, CEO.
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys talk
Get
about that?
paid, yeah.
Yeah. So the phrase we use is like golden parachute. So they, everyone else gets fired and there's money, but the CEO runs. Oh, so yeah. It was funny because someone actually talked about this in the comment today. They mentioned '08, and so I'm 49. I think the person said they were 45. Anyone who lived through basically, it was the big great financial crisis where essentially the banks made a bunch of bad loans, and then the government came and just gave a bunch of money, and we call it a bailout.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of CEOs still got paid with taxpayer money from doing bad business practices, because the concept back then, they were saying that they are these banks
Mm.
too big to fail. Like we
Yeah.
can't let
Let
them
them fail.
fail. Yeah, yeah. So from that experience to what we're seeing with the Doge stuff today, where Musk is basically kind of repeating the same kind of stuff to where we have to give tax breaks, tax cuts to the richest people, right? And we have to cut all these poor people services because it's better for everyone. It's better we give the rich people money. And I'm uncomfortable with that because I've seen this game before. And
And I,
what's that?
it reminds that, during the COVID era, so there is a lot of, there are more poor people during the COVID era.
A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot
Yeah,
of stores were
so
closed and stuff.
so
Sure.
when we were used to in the LA,
Mhm.
Los Angeles, I really liked there. I really like to visit the art district,
Yep. Yep.
go to Santa Monica, Haddington Beach,
Right.
So after, yeah, I really love there. But during the COVID era, my friend had a chance to live in the San Francisco. So I told her just to visit the art district and the beaches,
Yeah. Sure.
and she said why not? So she visited there with family, but there is tons of poor people and beggars,
Right. Right.
really dangerous. So she says this is a zombieland. So I think it's gonna be like that.
It was like Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, the other thing that would be on, we say, chopping block, like what you could cut,
Mhm.
would be services for, we'll say, people have mental problems,
Yeah,
people that have addiction problems.
there's
kind of
the
thing.
park, there's nowhere to jog, nowhere to
Yeah. I mean, I think, unfortunately, I think that's kind of the future that we're going to. What's fascinating about Musk, he likes sci-fi movies. He always quotes 1980s sci-fi movies, right? So all these movies have the same kind of theme. So Aliens, Blade Runner, if you want to talk about RoboCop.
Maybe I think that when you mentioned he just want just poor people living under the ground,
Yeah.
only rich people.
That's what all the sci-fi movies are. That's what they all are, right? All these movies about yeah. If you guys know these old movies, so RoboCop is the one where basically the guy's half robot, half human, and the crime is just like Gotham. Like, there's crime everywhere. Blade Runner. If you guys know the story of this one, the basic gist of it, not the robot stuff itself, but the basic gist of it is all the rich people left. They call it off world. They moved off world, and then all the poor people are stuck behind.
Oh,
Right?
or
What's
what's
that?
the Hunger Game? Yeah, just like Hunger Game.
Yeah, Hunger Games, the same kind of same basic idea, right? So all the rich people have the money, and the poor people have to fight to entertain the rich people.
Yeah. I'm curious.
That's what's
Los
that?
Angeles will have Olympics soon.
Yeah, that's
So 4 years later.
what are you curious about?
So maybe the economics go down. Maybe there's a lot of LA has a lot of drug.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like chances everywhere.
Oh, if they're gonna clean it up or not? Yeah, so that's what they did in Paris,
Yeah.
right? These issues are actually really hard to fix, right? It's not a and the other problem that we have with this whole like sort of Musk Vivek thing and cutting government services. So what the Republicans sell everyone is that the reason why you're not successful is that there's too much government. Okay, that's what they sell people. The problem is the deeper problem of why Americans are struggling is not an easy fix at all, and no politician can fix it. I just be honest, like they can't be fixed because like, what if you just don't have job skills for today's society? If you for real, like a lot of people they have job skills is like mining coal or your job skill. I don't know. For example, let's say just pushing a cart, whatever, right? So certainly a robot can replace you pushing a cart, or your job skill was building a car, but now robots can do some of the things that we just don't need humans anymore. So there's a lot of people out there that didn't retrain, right? And then the only job they can get, to be really frank, is be something like working in.
Sturdy.
Well, they could do that, but we hire illegal immigrants to do that kind of stuff, right? So that would be
Gonna take the
yeah.
immigrant anymore.
Well, so theoretically, right? So theoretically, if they want jobs, they could certainly work in a meat factory.
Yeah.
They could work on a farm.
Too.
Well,
So
yeah,
they're not gonna be,
no, I don't think people are going to want to do that. Actually, someone brought up a point. So we have a really smart community. It's just, how can I say, when people talk about this stuff in a more casual way, honest way, it is different than our official history, but it's not untrue. So you can make the case that much of the U.S., the southern part, is based on a bunch of lazy people having, well, it's not the word hiring because they had slaves, having a bunch of other people who worked hard, so the lazy people would just sit and watch the other people work, right? That's a big part of our society.
Mm.
Grew up with that culture back in the founding of the country. That was the idea, right?
Yeah, and they
So
think they're the rich people's attitude, right?
yeah, and Musk grew up with apartheid, which is the same kind of thing that exists, in many places around the world. And Vivek also, Vivek comes from India, where they have a caste system, and people keep pointing out that his family comes from the rich part of the caste system, right?
Yeah, they have like 100 servants.
I don't know Vivek's situation, but someone said they come from the rich neighborhood. If you guys know anything about India, it is definitely divided.
Yeah, when you go to bank, they have a different.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that. Oh, they have like
Like
the.
I heard that there's color that you can go.
For those of you in India, you can let me know on that.
Yeah, if you have a bank account, then
I know definitely in India though there's very real divisions, be it by religion. They call caste is the word they use, but
there's like more than 30 division, like very
yeah, yeah.
separately.
I'm not expert in India, but I am aware that there are multiple things. So it's a good bring up. So like the Vivek and the Musk culture, they don't really understand the poor people. Or well, okay, here's another thing that you could talk about. It's not that, so it depends, right? You'd have to ask Musk what he thinks, but it's not that Musk, Trump, or Vivek don't understand the poor people. They do, they just don't care.
Yeah, why they care?
You're right.
Not their
That
life.
that's and it brought me back to thinking again. It's funny when I first saw the Trump movie, the recent one, I was thinking, yeah, I already kind of knew this stuff. You don't necessarily need to see it, but I think there's people that don't know how Trump behaves, right? So go see the new Trump movie. It's called The Apprentice. But it's basically about how he learned to be a gangster from a lawyer. I just keep mentioning that movie.
I'm just Batman. That's
Actually, the Penguin Show. Yeah, it's kind of like Penguin too.
right.
The Penguin Show is pretty good if you guys haven't seen that. I really like that show. Let me read some more of this stuff. Yeah, so according to Musk and Ramaswamy, they want to have a lean team of small government crusaders. When you use the word crusader, it has this sort of like religious sort of tone that they're going to come in and, I guess, save people. Uh, that's their language. They also say, yeah, they say there's thousands of regulations that they want to cut. They use the word thousands. Again, mass headcount. Oh, right. And then they're going to want to figure out how to make agencies to work with the minimum amount of employees, right? So they really, really want to just get to the minimum. Now, to be fair, to them, I guess you could run an agency with, say, one person. It would just be really slow. They wouldn't be able to process paperwork very quickly, right? Um, if you cut every single regulation, theoretically things would be simpler, but not in a good way. So
Yeah.
I give you an example. So someone was saying that we have too many regulations. Say when you want to build a building, okay, you got to come in and maybe I'll give you examples like you have to see we say fire marshal, the person comes in the building and sees, is this building have exits
Yeah.
to where you guys have to see
Yeah.
this concept? You should be,
Yeah.
yeah. So like that's a simple example. So this kind of stuff develops over time. When a society first starts building buildings, no one's like, oh, there could be a fire, right? And then there's a fire, a lot of people die, and then someone's going to be like, well, why didn't we have protections in place to not let
Yeah.
these kind of buildings be built, right? And so then over time, you just get
And sometimes
what's that?
even not that, even if before they build, the ground is safe to
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
All kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So the way Musk and Vivek talk about, they talk about, oh, there's just too many regulations, we can't do anything. So as you guys know, you probably get my gist of it. It's like I literally did study government. I actually at university, that would be one of the topics in class. We'd be teaching the comparative politics, talking about different governments around the world, which is always a fun topic because people handle things differently, and it also depends on your history. Like whenever there's some sort of big event, then people say, oh, we don't want that to happen again, and you pass some sort of new regulation or something like that to prevent these said things. That's why regulations do add up over time. I can understand that for some people they feel like it's like a hassle. Like, why do I have to, get approval for my building with the fire stuff or the land stuff or water stuff? But these things are ultimately to protect you, right? The other problem though with Musk is that he, how can I say, he has this whole social media platform now that can just basically spread whatever messages he wants. And the sad thing about it is, remember, he comes from the rich person perspective. I promise you guys, this is just a numbers thing. If you follow Musk, there's a high chance you don't have as much money as Musk has. He's the richest guy in the world. So like your interests are not going to be the same as his. For some people though, because they're down on their luck, we say, like they're having a low point in life, down on luck. They feel like when Musk has success, they have success too. So some people just kind of follow in. It's kind of like what's that?
It's like cold.
It is a cult. Well, it's the same thing as well as like we have some cities, and I don't
It's like glory to Musk.
glory to Musk, glory to Musk. All glory to Musk. But I was saying it's like a similar situation. I don't know about Korea. You might know this. So in USA we have some very small cities that they don't have a lot there, but they have a sports team.
Wow.
So then everyone in the city supports the sports team. And I'm thinking like, for example, like a Green Bay Packers, just for example. You guys don't know exactly what this is if you're American. I can't speak to Australia or UK. I'd be curious your guys' thoughts, but the point is that for some people when like their life is not great, at least you got your sports team. When I was a kid, I used to really like sports when I was a kid. I still like it, but I don't know. I don't really get caught up in it anymore because I guess I understand it's not that important to my life. It's entertainment, right? But I don't like, oh my God, my team has to win. Oh, or another example, which is this is all related because I want you to understand how our system is built and why people gravitate to stuff because they want happiness in their life. Some people like really care about Star Wars movies. Like it's really important to them, right? So if a Star Wars movie is not good, then they feel like, oh, my life is ruined. I don't have a good Star Wars movie. And like, some people,
yeah, and that's psychological.
yeah. They need that sort of, I don't know, escape, I guess.
Escape or something you care about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If nothing else, and it's a sad way to think about it. And then I know for some people it's not sad if we talk about this stuff, but
Because their real life is so sad,
yeah,
so they have to think about other things.
But this is sort of why we try to tell you guys the truth and stuff. If you want to improve your life, you tackle the real problems opposed to the fake problems in your life, right? So if your real problem right now is you just don't have any money, it's just reality. You got to figure out, okay, how can I get job skills to where someone wants my services? That's a real thing, and some people they don't want to necessarily face that because if you're facing
So sad.
that I have to retrain.
Yeah, I'm so depressed. I don't have anything to
Well, and this is something that if you guys check out my book, it's called Positive Income. I mention all the time. One of the biggest changes you can make in your life is go to a different city where there'll be more jobs. It's just real. Some cities have more jobs than other. It's a real thing.
So, for example, in
What's that?
Korea, a lot of Busan young people just moved to Seoul.
Yeah,
Not enough,
there's more jobs up there. Sure.
Mm.
I was just gonna say that the difference between Americans and other countries, I don't know. Some Americans they take pride in the small town and they expect the job to be there. Many other countries they know that the jobs are in the big city, and that's where all the young people are.
No,
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Everyone wants to go to Beijing or Shanghai. So is
in
that
Vietnam, they moved to Ho Chi
oh,
Minh,
absolutely.
Hanoi.
So it's actually a problem in let's use China example. It's such a problem in terms of like all the jobs are in one city. They have a visa to move to Beijing. Like so you have to if you don't have a permit, you can't live in Beijing.
You can get a job and you can get an apartment.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about the job thing.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because theoretically you could get a job but then live like
I see.
because I think the permit thing. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. I know the permit things like to live there and send your kids to school. Because what they do is they'll bring in a lot of like temporary workers
see.
that live in like basically tents or stuff like that. The point I'm saying is like it's a different culture in other countries to where that's where the job is and you just move there. But for some Americans, they're like kind of
They feel like they have to stay there.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. It's hard. It's a different culture.
So,
Like you have to ask
you
them like why do
figure
Americans? So anyway, like to hear your guys' thoughts on this stuff, and we'll catch you on the next video. So bye.